Welcome back. She's a native Angelino, specifically from East LA, as rumble and rough then as it is today. She's looking for a way out, concentrated on it daily, and turned out her escape plan would be the United States Navy. That fortuitous decision would prove to be one of her best as a 20-year career and a whole new life can attest. Please join me in welcoming Navy Corpsman First Class Brenda Quintero, United States Navy. Ms. Quintero, thanks for coming in.
Hi, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, you are the youngest retiree that we've had here on the Shatner Story.
And that's saying a lot, considering I just turned 50.
Hey, that's still young. I mean, what sparked me to do this was the fact that, I think I told you this, that so many World War II vets had come back after the war and just went back to living and never spoke with anyone about their experiences.
Right.
And now, unfortunately, a lot of those people have been lost to history.
Right.
A lot of them have passed on. So I wanted to make sure that that didn't happen to like the Vietnam generation and succeeding generations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because my dad was a Vietnam veteran, and I didn't hear any stories really. I mean, something to just really talk about it. Just, you know, bits and pieces, but a lot of it is, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about it.
Do you know what he was in Vietnam?
I know he did communications.
Army?
He was Army.
Good.
He was Army, but he hasn't really shared too many stories, but maybe I could have asked more questions. He's still around, yeah, so I do have a Vietnam veteran in my family, and then there's myself and my son, who's also serving as well, and my brother.
Oh, your brother's actively serving?
My brother's actively serving as well,
oh,
my baby brother.
Which branch?
Navy.
Navy? Corpsman?
No, he's not a corpsman. He's ABE. So he's a catapult guy, the guy that does the catapults.
Oh, okay.
They launch them, and that's what he does.
Commander Lipinski, of which I think I haven't counted the number of episodes he's done. I think it's like 20, maybe more. He ran air ops
Oh, fun.
on Navy carriers. That was his main thing, and he did that for 38 years.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. And I had, before speaking with him, I had no clue it was as dangerous on a carrier deck as it is.
Anybody who can spend 30 years or more at sea duty is a profound individual. They're very resilient if they can spend that much time at sea and really love it, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah, either you love it or you hate it, because you're a captive audience. So there is a lot to consider, because what people don't understand is that when you're in uniform, for example, it's not like a cruise ship, a regular cruise ship. If you're in berthing, you can relax, what they call relaxing your uniform. You can put your jammies on, you can put your PT clothes on, you can just relax it. But when you want to leave your berthing space to go get food, to go to the galley, do anything, you have to put your uniform back on. This is usually coveralls or whatever uniform of the day that is for your department, but you have to put it all on just to leave, to go eat. So getting the motivation to say, hey, I want to go get something to eat is, you got to get it all together just to go make that happen, and that can be very tedious at times.
You have to have the whole presentation.
Yeah, because there's always that worst case scenario. What if something happens? You go to battle stations or anything. You have to have your full uniform, because it can be a dangerous place too if things go sideways. There's a fire or a flood. Anything can happen. So you get to be ready at all times. So all service members, irregardless of the branch, I can't speak for a lot. I'm not speaking for collectively as a group, but your op tempo personally tends to be high. So you're working at a stress level that's normal civilians are not working at on a regular basis, because you're always on physical alert, mental alert. So it's just always a sustained thing. And to make it funny though, but at some point when you're a captive audience with some people, you're, like anything else, you're going to get tired of them.
Right.
So these may be your friends, your besties, throughout the cruise, and you may get to know them, but at some point you're going to get tired of seeing the same people.
Right.
So you can see the luster leave people's skin and eyes after so much time at sea. Everybody looks vibrant, and then you start to get pasty. You don't look so well. You don't feel so well.
I've heard there's on a Navy ship, there's two classes of people. You have the day people and night people? And the day people because they have a tan, and the night people are all pale?
That makes sense, yeah. Well, you spend a lot of time inside the skin of the ship, so there's not a lot of sunlight.
Right.
So if you do want to get any kind of sun or weather exposure, it's usually on Liberty, or when they have fog walks, when they go down out the flight line and they pick things up. I mean, that's just an excuse to get outside.
Right.
You can use, depending on the ship, I haven't spent a lot of time at sea, so I can't speak on it expertly myself, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on it. Right. I've only spent TAD small stints on a ship, so that would be like 2 weeks at the most, 3 weeks, that's about it. But collectively, it's not a whole lot of time for me. I was mostly a shore sailor. I was at hospitals or overseas locations because of my particular NEC, which was my specialty within the corpsman rating, what I did.
Right.
So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for that on sea duty. And in addition to, there's also limited billets for females, what they call billets on ships, berthing spaces or beds, if you will. So depending on your rate, mine was corpsman, there's only so many of each rank that they'll take in that rate to accommodate that, because they don't need a lot of that. And a lot of the junior sailors, which are usually like the E3 and below, the ones who have more promising opportunities to go to sea duty if they have somebody who can advocate for them to get to a ship, because they're considered what they call baby doc. And they work
baby
under
doc.
an IDC, individual, yeah, an independent duty corpsman most of the times.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty funny.
It is, but it's a good opportunity for them to learn something, learn about the fleet. And I always encouraged my sailors that I was working for, and I say working for in the capacity that I was a command corps counselor. Mm-hmm. So I was a career manager for them. So when there came opportunity for them to select orders or to decide what they want, their next step was going to be leaving, I always try to encourage them to go to sea duty, because the opportunity is best when they're the baby dog. They have more choices and opportunities. Right. They can go with the Marines, they can go in the fleet, and they can go on smaller ships, they can go on bigger ships, and they can really get that exposure that you're not going to get at just staying at a hospital facility. You're going to get to do more as a baby dog out to sea or with the Marines. You're going to really utilize those skills that you were learned in corps school. Unlike when you work at a shore command in a hospital, it's such a big place that when you're considered a junior sailor, most times you're just vital signs. You just take vital signs and do like check-ins.
And pass it off to the docs.
It's really mundane. It can be really boring, and then you're thinking, why did I sign up for this? Why am I here? Right. It's just not exciting.
Just like taking people's temperature and
pretty much
pulse rate.
Like checking, like a nursing assistant, basically. Yeah. And you don't feel as though you're really utilizing your skills to the maximum benefit.
I should ask this, is there, because the military has so changed, say since the 60s and 70s, are they posting female corpsmen to combat units?
It's been 10 years since I looked at it, but last I checked, no.
No.
What they consider, the Marines, you can go, I may have the terminology wrong, and I apologize. MARDIV, I believe, is like just the males, which is the Marine divisions,
right.
Which is closer to the action, if there is action. And then there is, I forgot the terminology, but it's farther back, like in the hospitals. Like there's different echelons of like, think of a bullseye. So right. You have the action in the middle, and there's different groups on the outside.
Different levels.
Correct.
Outcropping
like
from
hospitals, like response stations or corpsmen or medical or support. And in that bullseye, usually it's just male billets, but they may have changed that in the last 10 years. Don't quote me on that. But on the outer rim of that is usually the closest that they'll allow the female corpsman to be billeted to go in. I don't think it's sexism. I just think it's just, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, but I think it's just more of logistics.
Right.
But I don't know the specifics as to why. But I do know that a lot of women go into combat in the Army. We hear about that all the time. They do a lot of frontline work. Just not the corpsmen as far as I know. I could be wrong. Things could have changed. I haven't really been abreast of that.
It's changing all the time.
All the time, absolutely, it's changing. And some things for the good and some things not so good. I think the things that have changed for the better are like the maternity benefits, or the now there's offering paternity leave for the fathers, in addition to extended time for the mother maternity leave. When I had my children, my first child in the Navy, I only got 6 weeks. That's all you got on the books is 6 weeks. So you delivered and you got 6 weeks. You had to snap it all back and be good to go in 6 weeks. That's insane.
Is that from the 6 weeks from
delivery?
From delivery, okay.
So yeah, it's unrealistic, that expectation at the time, to meet those goals, because so you're back active is 6 weeks, but you also have to be ready to participate in your next physical fitness exam, or the PRT. And at that time, it was twice a year. So you had to be back into body weight standards and be able to complete the fitness test.
So you're expected to, basically snap back into shape
in less than a year.
Really fast.
Yeah. And that's not healthy. That's not healthy for the mother, and it's very unsustainable for mothers to bond with their newborns, especially if you wanted to breastfeed. If you wanted to really bond with them, where do you fit that time in? You can't. Right. This is not enough time. 6 weeks is not enough time to bond for mother and child to have that bond at home. And it's a good thing that they've taken a look at that, and there's a lot of advocates out there that have been advocating for a longer time, and for the father to be participating in that as well, because a lot of times the male counterpart has been left out of the loop, kind of like just, this doesn't concern you, it's just about the mother and the child.
He's considered the sperm donor.
Pretty much. And that's not right, because especially if you're looking at family units,
Yeah.
So that's something that I know that they've changed, and I think that's excellent. When I had my second son, my last child, they had changed, it was still 6 weeks postpartum, but you had a year before you were considered eligible to be deployed, or to go to an IA, or to have to participate in a PRT.
Right.
So that was nice, but you're still having to go back to work in 6 weeks. That doesn't change like at that time. Now I think it's longer. From what I hear, I think they've extended like 10 weeks or whatnot, 12 weeks maybe. But you're separating the mother from the newborn 6 weeks. We don't even do that with animals. You know what I mean? Like, you can't even pull a puppy or a kitten away from its mother at 6 weeks, but we're doing that with humans. It's very...
Yeah, you're not supposed to. I know this because my little guy, Winston, little Maltese, technically we weren't supposed to get him until 8 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
So you look at that. We're not even treated with the same dignity as
I like
puppies
to be
and
an
kittens.
expert on childbirth.
And I'm not saying that it's there. I just think it's an antiquated idea that hasn't really evolved. A lot of the policies I found in the military are very slow moving. Like very slow moving. Things change, policies change.
Yeah, it's a bureaucracy. Bureaucracies are always slow moving.
And they're always at the behest of whoever's making the policies. So they can depends on what side if it benefits you or not. They don't always have a beneficial benefit. Because the saying when I came in was always like, did it come in your sea bag? Oh, you didn't get a wife or a husband in your sea bag. You didn't get a kid in your sea bag. Like, we don't care about your personal needs. We only care about what our needs are.
Right.
And I get that. But at the same time, if you want a viable force, which is an all-volunteer force, and you want people to continue to volunteer, which I understand that they're hurting right now a little bit with their retention rate, is because you have to give people incentives to want to do this. Because when you don't change policy, when you change one policy, for example, that after everything kicked up again, Afghanistan and all that stuff, they were putting a lot of us into IA positions. Now, how the policies were written previously, taking women into account, it said, by instruction, it would say that family planning, pregnancy and whatnot, should be conducted on shore duty. So we had what we call a seashore rotation. So when you're out to sea or overseas, whatever, that's considered your deployment.
Right.
And then your shore duty is supposed to be your respite. That's supposed to be your recovery when you family plan, when you do other things, because you shouldn't have any outside demands of deployments. You're still going to have duty, you're still going to have work, but you shouldn't have to worry about those external forces. But the policies didn't match up with the reality of what was happening.